Hi everyone, and welcome back to Butchery 101. I'm Christina Glenoga, and today we're going to talk about a few non-trendy gadgets and techniques that you can use in your home kitchen to step up your meat game. There's a lot of misinformation out there about food and meat in particular, and oftentimes products are marketed to us that don't do anything for us. It's like so frustrating to see sometimes the kind of like misinformation and myths that are being perpetuated out there by other professionals. And so I'm here today to debunk a few myths and give you guys a few recommendations on things that I've seen time and time again in professional kitchens and professional butcher shops that genuinely bring about consistent results and the results that you want to be having. Also, this list isn't going to be comprehensive, so I'll probably add to it sometime in the future. Number 1, a meat thermometer. Now, this seems like an extremely basic thing to have on hand, and it's like such a boring answer as to like, oh, what can make my cooking better? A meat thermometer. Yeah, 100% a meat thermometer will make things in your kitchen way better. There are a few reasons why. So a lot of the advice out there that I hear for cooking steaks and judging doneness, that is to say mid-rare, rare, well done, etc. The general wisdom out there is to recommend this like weird like poking your hand method where it's like this or like this. And to be honest, like that might actually work for some people, but it's the kind of thing that takes a lot of practice. Like there's a reason why the people suggesting this method are chefs. Because they will have likely spent months, if not years, cooking meat every day and ruining some steaks just to learn how to tell from touch whether or not a steak is done. And I don't know about y'all, but I do not need to spend any more time practicing any of that noise. It's an amount of practice that you would only be able to achieve as a professional cook, and considering the news that just broke recently about Willow's Inn and like other reports of like awful times, and also my personal account, it's not a great idea to become a professional cook, y'all. It's like there are a lot of parts of it that are not cute. And so save yourself the trouble, emotional fatigue, and like trauma. Oh, and physically scarring yourself from spending time in professional kitchens. Get you a meat thermometer. When you're cooking steak and you can check it as often as you want, actually. I was just going to say like, oh, check the temperature after you flip it, but you can seriously check it whenever. And it's kind of cool to learn that like, your steak goes from like 40 to 50 degrees up to 100, up to 120. And you're like, oh, okay, well, I think this is the doneness that I like, so you'll try it at 120 and like, oh, maybe that's a little bit too rare. I like to go until like 135 personally, and then it'll carry over to 145, which is a solid medium. You can find the information about steak doneness and like what temperature corresponds to what texture anywhere on the internet. So feel free, have at it. Just Google like what temperature is mid-rare. No shame. Google anything. The other thing about having a meat thermometer, like an instant read meat thermometer around, I don't just use it for meat. We'll also temp like baked goods or water. So say if I'm like poaching eggs, I totally will temp the water. I'll also temp my fry oil. I don't make a lot of candy, but I suppose you could also use it as a candy thermometer if you just wanted to like every once in a while check the temperature. I am really bad at baking yeast breads, and I had my most successful yeast bread baking experience recently, and it's because I checked the temperature of the water in which I was blooming the yeast, because it said in the book 115 degrees or warm, and like warm is so subjective, but to be able to check the water and know that it was in fact at 114 to 116 and then add the yeast, it was, yeah, those buns turned out really well. So get you a meat thermometer. And they have like tons of different styles out there that are like an external screen, and then there's like a probe that can go into whatever meat it is, and then like you can roast it long term. They even I lived at a place where the oven had its own external probe, so you'd plug one end of the probe into the oven and then another end of the probe into your roast, and then it'll tell you when that roast gets to a certain temperature if you tell it to tell you. So yeah, it's pretty fancy, and there's a lot of stuff out there, but you can definitely achieve like a lot of precise results. And honestly, it's more about demystifying what it is that you're doing, but you can achieve that with a relatively cheap appliance with just like an instant read stick thermometer. Good stuff. Editing Christina here now, and I just want to let y'all know that there is too much footage in this like 45-minute long video, so we're gonna bust it up into two. Let's just call this one part one. Please do come back for part two, and don't forget to subscribe so you make sure to not miss part two. And please comment down below what your favorite devices in your own kitchen are, or in professional kitchens if that's the kind of place that you work. Let me know what your favorite meat cooking devices are and what you've found the most success with in your own kitchens. I'm really stoked to hear from you guys. So thanks again so much, and have a good day. Bye. Disagree with our whoa. Okay, well shit.